Okay guys, so this is the second part that you are going to be watching today. So we are going to be converting from slope or standard form into slope intercept form. So at the top of the page, you can see that we have slope intercept form. The example is y equals 3x plus 5. So in this form, you have all the terms equal to y. That says toy, sorry, so it should say 2y. Okay, so we have y equals mx plus b, and we already know that the m right here represents our slope, and our b represents our y-intercept. What we do see over here, though, on standard form is where it says 2x plus 4y equals 8. So you can see that this is not in slope intercept form. It is not set to y equals, which is what we need to be able to graph. So what you're going to need to do is you are going to have to solve for y. So if you can read right here, it says to do so, you will use inverse operations just as you would to solve to move one value across the equal sign. So remember, we need to keep both sides of the equation balanced at all times. You want to do this so that y is by itself. So if you look down here, we have 4x minus 6y equals 12. We have to get rid of this positive 4y to be able to get x or y by itself. So to move our x over, we have to subtract, not on just one side, but we have to subtract on both sides. Then once we get negative 6y equals negative 4x plus 12, that's when we're going to take our negative 6 and get rid of it. Because the negative 6 and y are being multiplied by each other, we have to divide everything by negative 6. Once you've done that, you can see that your equation now is y equals 2 over 3x minus 2. And the way that we got 2 over 3 is just that negative 4 divided by negative 6 gives us the 2 over 3. So let's do a couple examples together. So the first thing that we need to do, we need to convert each equation from standard form to slope intercept form. Then we need to identify our slope and our y-intercept, and then that's going to be able to allow us to graph the equation. So for the first one, we have 2y minus 4x equals 6. So we need to get this y by itself. We cannot get rid of the 2 next to the y until we get rid of this negative 4x. So I like to draw my line straight down the equal sign. Then we're going to do the opposite of what negative 4x is to move it to the other side. Negative 4x, the opposite of that, is a positive 4x because we want to move the entire thing over. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So negative 4x and positive 4x, those cancel out. I am left with a positive 2y on the left side, and it is equal to 4x plus 6. Now I can go ahead and get rid of this 2 next to the y. Because there is multiplication here, I am going to divide. What I do to one side, I have to do to everything. So I divide the 4x by 2, and I divide the 6 by 2. When I do that, I am left with y equals 2x plus 3. And now I can easily identify using my slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and I can identify that my slope right here is my 2. Or to graph, I would say 2 over 1. And then my y-intercept, my b, is positive 3. So now I can go ahead and graph using my 2 pieces of information. So I've got my y-intercept at 3. So I'm going to mark 3 on the y-axis. And then my slope is 2 over 1. And remember that slope is also known as our rise over our run. So that means that we are going to be going up or down first and then left or right. So because both of these numbers are positive, positive 2 over positive 1, that means that we are going to be moving up 2 and to the right 1, and we're going to plot that point. We're going to do that again, so we go up 2 to the right 1 and plot our point. And remember, we can also go down 2 into the left one because 2 negatives, that would be a -2 over a -1, which then still creates a positive slope. And you can continue that pattern all the way until you run out of room. And then remember, we have to connect our dots. That is probably the biggest thing that some of y'all will forget to do, and that will not be correct. We have to connect all of our dots and put those arrows at the end of the line. All right, let's go ahead and flip the page. So we are on example number 2. And again, we are having to solve for y first. So we draw our line. And we need to get y by itself. To do that, we have to get rid of this positive 2x first. To get rid of a positive 2x, we are going to subtract 2x from both sides. Remember, we're not dividing it away because we're looking at what the 2x is doing to the y, and you can see that it's being added, so we have to subtract. We do the inverse operation. All right, and so when we do that, we are left with -3y equals -2x plus 12. Now, because I have -3 next to my y, that is multiplication, I am going to divide by -3. Divide by -3 on both sides and divide it by everything. So -3 divided by -3, those cancel out, so we're left with y on the left side equals -2 divided by -3. Those become positive. So negative divided by a negative is a positive 2 over 3x, and then 12 divided by -3 is -4. And remember, you can use a calculator on this, and I would highly suggest that if you have trouble with that kind of mental math. So we can identify y equals mx plus b using that slope intercept form. We can identify our slope, which is 2 over 3. And then my y-intercept is going to be that plus or minus number at the end, which would be -4. So that means that my starting point here is going to be -4 on the y-axis. And then I go up to the right 3 because my slope is rise over run. So that top number means that I'm moving up 2 and then to the right 3. Up 2 to the right 3. And again, I can also go down 2 and to the left 3 because 2 negatives make a positive. So I'm going to go ahead, connect my dots. And that's it. All right, so on to the next one. Again, we need to be able to get y by itself. Right now we have 15x plus 5y equals 35. So I need to be able to move that 15x over to the other side. Because it's a positive 15x, that means that I need to subtract 15x. Remember, we are using inverse operations. So when I subtract 15x from both sides, I am left with 5y equals -15x plus 35. So that negative goes in front of the 15 because we have subtracted it. And remember, you can't have -15x and 35 combined because they are not like terms. Now we have 5y equals -15x plus 35, but I don't want to know what 5y equals. I want to know what y equals. So because there is multiplication between 5 and y, I want to go ahead and divide everything by 5. So what I do to one side, I do to the other side. And 5 divided by 5 cancels out. It equals 1, so we're left with y equals, and then -15 divided by 5 is -3, bring down our x, and then 35 divided by 5 is a positive 7. So now using our slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b, we're going to take that m and identify it as -3. And then our y-intercept is positive 7. So we are going to start at positive 7 on our y-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, way at the very top. And then we're going to go, now notice it says -3. That's a whole number. I can change -3 to be a fraction by placing it over 1. So we know that slope is rise over run. If my rise is a -3 and my run is a +1, so rise is -3. If it's a negative, then that means that we are going to be moving down 3 and then to the right 1. So we're still going to be moving to the right because that run is a positive number. Okay, and we continue that pattern all the way down. So down 3 to the right 1, down 3 to the right 1, down 3 to the right 1. And then we are just going to connect those dots. Please, please, please make sure you connect your dots. It's super important. And draw those arrows. All right, so now we have 4y minus 5x equals 36. So again, we want to draw that line straight down the center of the equal sign. And I need to get y by itself. So first things first, I need to get rid of this -5x or the minus 5x. To undo a -5x, we need to add 5x to both sides. When I do that, -5x and 5x cancel out. I'm left with 4y equals 5x plus 36. Now remember, 5x and 36 cannot combine because they are not like terms. Then we are going to divide by 4 on both sides because what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. When I divide 4y by 4, I'm left with y on the left side of my equal sign. And then I have 5x divided by 4. All I want to do is take this fraction right here and set it next to the x. So I don't even need to divide it. I don't need to simplify it into a decimal. I just leave it as 5 over 4x. And then we have 36 divided by 4, which gives us a positive 9. So again, we're going to use that y equals mx plus b to identify what my slope and y-intercept are. So my slope is that 5 over 4, and then my y-intercept is going to be that positive 9. So, and you can't graph it up here. Sorry about that. I should have given you a bigger graph. But let's see, this would be 8 and 9. We'll just kind of estimate that right there. All right, so we have our positive 9, that's our y-intercept, and we can't go any further up because obviously it goes beyond the graph. So what we're going to have to do instead, 5 over 4 is the same thing as -5 over -4. So we're going to have to go down 5, so down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and to the right, or to the left 4, excuse me. Okay, and you can see here, guys, that it's still creating a positive slope for us. Okay, so you need to make sure that you continue to see that it is a positive slope. All right, last one, and then you get to work on your practice. So for this example, we have x plus y equals 5. Well, our y is not by itself, so we have to be able to move stuff away from it. So we've got to isolate our y variable. We have x plus y, so this x is being added to the y. To undo that, we need to subtract the x from both sides. Once I do that, x minus x eliminates, and I'm left with y equals, and then we have our negative x plus 5. Now, using my slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b, I'm going to use that to identify my slope. Well, here it's a negative x. Remember that if there is not a number in front of the x, it's an invisible 1. We just automatically assume that there is a 1 there. And because this is negative, our slope is -1. Then looking at our y-intercept, that would be our b value, and that would be 5. So our starting place on this graph is a positive 5 on the y-axis. We're always on the y-axis. So we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and plot that point right here. And then again, our slope is -1. If I want to put that as a fraction, I put it over 1. So we've got our rise over our run. So our rise is negative, so that means that I'm going to go down 1. And then the run is a +1, so I'm going to go to the right. So down 1 to the right 1. Down 1 to the right 1. Plot your points every single time. Down 1 to the right 1, and continue that pattern all the way until you run out of room on the graph. And remember, you can also go the opposite way. So you could say a +1 over -1, which means that we would move up 1 to the left 1, up 1 to the left 1. And notice it's still in the same pattern as the one before. Whoop. Didn't mean to hit the eraser. There you go. And make sure you connect your dots. All right. So the last few, these were ones that we already did. So you are good to go for the rest of the day. Please make sure that you do your practice that is in the packet. If you do finish early, then you can go back through your Module 6 Quiz 1 that was taken last week, and you can work on your quiz corrections. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you on Friday.